We're really excited. Today's podcast, we have Coach Colby Blaine, the head coach at the College of Idaho. He's been the Coyote or Yotes head coach for the last 6 years. He's going into his 7th year. Should have won a national championship COVID year. We're in the Final Four when it got canceled, but has won 1 national championship, been to 4 Final Fours. I've had a chance to go watch this guy coach, and it's an unbelievable experience. Anyway, he's a local Boise kid that's doing great things out in Caldwell at the College of Idaho. I think you're really going to enjoy today. Coach Colby Blaine. Coach, welcome.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Straight off the court, right? You're in the middle of summer camps.
Yep, kids camp. We got our 3rd through 8th graders in the gym this week.
I've seen some of the posts. It looks really fun and exciting.
Yeah, we get a great turnout. Our community supports us. I think we have about 128 kids in camp this week.
Wow. It's fantastic. You have something special going on there, so I appreciate you coming on here with me today. I'm going to read kind of your bio a little bit before the introduction, before we get started, so people will know, but man, you got some energy going on out there.
Yeah.
Don't you?
Yeah, things are good.
Things are good.
We're enjoying the experience we're having, that's for sure.
Yeah, I was out there with Jim and got to come to one of the games this year and then got to go in the locker room afterwards.
Yeah.
And I remember looking at him and just saying, oh my goodness, this is special.
Yeah.
So national championship last year to the national champion, to the playoffs.
Yeah, we made the Final Four last year, or Fab Four as we call it. But it's been good.
Anyway, we'll get into some of that, but I want to thank you for being here because I think you're also just a giant community guy. But before we get into that, tell us a little bit about you growing up and how you ended up as the head coach.
Yeah, sure. So I'm from downtown Boise. I went to Boise High. My dad was a history teacher at North Junior High. Graduated 2005, left to go to college in Oregon, Blue Mountain Community College for 2 years, played there, and then got on as a student assistant at Montana
Where's
Western.
Blue Mountain?
Pendleton.
Okay.
Not too far from here.
Okay.
Went to Montana Western, became a student assistant there, worked there 2 years, and I knew I wanted to be a college basketball coach in 7th grade. My sister played at Boise State, so I got to see that whole journey. Fell in love with college basketball, and so went to College of Southern Idaho in Twin Falls for 5 years. Incredible experience. Won the national championship 2011.
Do they still talk about Joey Johnson there?
Oh, yeah. In fact, I think Joey Johnson's son had come back.
We got to stop for a minute. We'll keep going here. But so 100 years ago, I played at Rick's College.
Oh, sure. Okay, so you know CSI.
So we played CSI, but Joey Johnson was there.
Yeah.
So anyone listening to this, you got to be really old to get the whole reference here. But Dennis Johnson played for the Celtics.
Okay.
You don't even remember Dennis
Johnson.
Johnson. This is, oh my gosh.
I'm going to have to do my research.
This is the most embarrassing thing of the podcast. Matthew, pull up, please, someone pull up Dennis Johnson. Oh my gosh, coach.
So this would have
been.
So
the Celtics win the championship last night.
Yeah.
We're talking about Dennis Johnson, one of the most famous Celtics, played with Danny Ainge, Bird, all those guys.
Okay.
So there he is right there.
All
so he played for the Sonics, then he played for the Celtics. Very famous guy. Big-time shooter.
Yes. And
but
he was
not really athletic. So that's Joey's brother.
Sure. Okay.
Okay,
Yes.
so first of all, you hear about this Joey Johnson, who's Dennis's brother, who plays for CSI, and you're like, he's going to be incredible. Well, then we play him, and he could. I saw it with my own 2 eyes. He could get a quarter off the backboard to top.
Yeah, I heard that.
So he literally could. And then the other legendary thing is he never had high jump before. And I remember seeing it on the wall there. He went to a track meet and set the record for the whole division
with no practice,
high jump. Anyway, he's a legendary athlete.
Yeah, I've
Joey,
heard the stories
Joey Johnson.
about his athleticism.
If you do Joey Johnson, does he come up? Do Joey Johnson CSI?
I think his son just played at Arizona within the last 10 years, maybe.
Oh, I don't know. I've got a picture.
Oh, yeah. Well,
there he is.
May not. Is that him?
I don't know. That says it's him, right? Jumping Joey Johnson right there. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
I've got a picture. I rarely got in, by the way, because I mostly sat the bench.
Sure.
But luckily I got in for a short period of time. And I've got this picture of kind of trying to fake a shot, and his feet being like at my eye level.
You got him to jump.
They got him to jump.
Yeah.
Anyway, Coach, keep going. Sorry,
No,
I
you're
had to
good.
bring that up.
You're good. CSI was incredible. Won the national championship 2011. Got to coach 2 players that got drafted into the NBA in 2013.
Anybody would know?
Pierre Jackson, little guard, went to Baylor.
Okay.
They made the Elite Eight when he was at Baylor in 2014-15.
I remember that.
Yeah. And then Carrick Felix got drafted from Arizona State. Bounced around the league a little bit, but great experience. And then I had a chance to come down here to work for Scott Garson, who was my former boss.
Okay.
Coming from UCLA, he was the head coach at College of Idaho, so I worked for him for 4 years. And then, lucky for me, they tossed me the keys and said, "Hey, it's yours now." So that was 6 years ago, going on 7 now.
So this will be your 7th season.
This will be the start
and
of
it's
7.
been an incredible. Listen,
Yeah.
Jim Everett is a great human being.
Yes.
In fact,
best.
might be one of the finest human beings on the planet Earth.
Yes.
I've known him for a long time, but he talks about you with such excitement and reverence about what you're doing and just how committed you are to that place and how it's going. So tell me a little bit about what it's been. It's a pretty special place, and tell me about like the experience and then the ride of the national championship.
Sure. Well, to start with Jim, I mean, it's not just the basketball program. I mean, it takes a village to be great, and our entire campus, our entire community. I mean, I've learned so much from Jim Everett and Doug Brigham, our co-presidents, and Marty Hawley. I mean, you go down the list, we got a pretty cool.
Got to meet Marty. He's a cool guy.
Yes, we've got an incredible list of humans that we get to model ourselves after every day. But I started as an assistant, and I didn't know if I'd be there long. I thought maybe there'd be new opportunities out there, and after about a year, I fell in love with the experience, and that's everything. That's the way that we travel. It's the way we eat. It's the type of guys we get to coach. It's the way the community supports us, and so I kind of put my roots in there, and hoped that someday maybe the head job would open, and it did, and so. 6 years ago, the doors opened to be the head coach, and I kept the same model that we had. I had learned so much from Scott Garson. He was coming from UCLA, and he took a lot from John Wooden, and so I didn't need to change a lot. I just needed to figure out who I was and keep that same roadmap going. And I feel really confident that we've continued to grow on that roadmap and kind of make it what you see now. But we were the number 1 team in the country when COVID hit. We were in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. We were on a 26-game win streak, and we had just won our number one,
goodness.
or we had just won our first game in the national tournament, and they canceled it right on the spot.
Shut it all down.
And so we had 3 seniors that year, and those guys were 4-year guys that had, in fact, all Idaho guys that had built with us, and unfortunately they shut it down. And so, of course, throughout the next year, we go through our COVID season, but we realized we're on a path to maybe win a national championship.
So, but you kind of lost out on one, maybe.
Yeah, we might
I mean, you're
have.
number 1 team.
Yes.
You're in the tournament.
Correct.
Pretty good chances of winning one.
Yeah,
that's tough.
There was a lot of what ifs, where there was a lot of like, are we ever going to be able to put a team together that can do that again? And so, we just started to figure out, okay, who was that team? Why were we in that position? And we kept building towards it. And sure enough, 3 years later, we ended up cutting the nets down on a 36-game win streak. So.
No, it was incredible.
Yeah, it was a pretty incredible run.
Got to follow along, and then last year you had an incredible team too.
Yeah. Well, we're coming off the national championship, which what an experience to have. I mean, just the way the community treats you and the expectations and the pressures. I thought our guys did a great job. We ended up going 32-4. We're tied with 42 seconds left in the final 4. We're 1 possession away from playing for another national championship. So, great season. And what was the coolest thing about that? And this is the truth about coaching and all of our journeys is that when we lost that game and we were in the locker room after the game, of course we were disappointed and we wanted it to hurt for a while. But the brotherhood that you could feel, that I was like, all right, mission accomplished.
So I get to go to a game with Jim, and he's like, hey, do you want to go in the locker room afterwards? And so the game I went to, you guys were playing a relatively good team. I'm trying to remember who it was, but you won by like 40 points.
Yeah.
It was a night that I had gone to a BSU game the week before, and I'm like, we just need 1 or 2 of your shooters on Boise State team last year.
I agree.
Because I go to this game, and I don't know what the percentage was that night, but everybody was scoring 3-pointers, and you blow this team out, destroy them. So I remember going, and Jim gets us set up in the locker room, and we're in there with your guys. And by the way, incredible young men. I want to talk a little bit about that.
Yep.
Just incredible young men, and we're in there kind of talking to him. And then Jim leans over to me, and he's like, wait till you see what happens. You just got to wait to see what happens here.
Yep.
And I'm like, wait till what? They just blew this team out. And then you came in with your coaching staff, and it was electric.
Yeah, nice little celebration in there.
It was electric. And I remember when it was over, I'm like, Jim, where? Just show me the house on fire. I'm running through it for this guy. It's incredible.
It's fun.
I want to talk a little bit about, it's a pretty special thing. I've been around locker rooms, coaches, people. You've got something going on that's really pretty incredible.
Sure.
Where does that come from? Have you been a natural leader? Has that been the environment you've been in? Because you've got these young men on fire and ready to go work as a team and make this happen.
Yeah.
Talk about the culture.
Yeah. So, you asked, were you a born leader or I've always been interested in leadership and, just driving experiences and leading groups, I guess. And so you go through the course of your life and you figure out, well, what is leadership? And of course, at the beginning of leadership, we all think it's maybe telling somebody else what to do, and so we study that and we try to be vocal and all that. And then over the course of time, we start to figure out that really it's just becoming the best version of yourself. And so I've kind of figured out, maybe over the last 5 or 10 years of my life, that the more I pour into myself, the more it reflects to the group that I'm on or, that I'm with. And then when you get great young men who are interested in doing the same thing, then you start to learn from them, right? Or the people that you're around, maybe it be our professors on campus or faculty, staff, students. We really start to learn a ton from them. And so, I have to give a lot of credit to Scott Garson about locker room culture. He was so good. This is my former boss. He was so good about including everybody. We work in circles. We don't work in straight lines, right? Like everybody's included. Everybody plays a part, just like our own families. Whether it be the youngest son or daughter to grandma and grandpa, everybody's got a part. And we value them for everything. And so, we've really learned how to make sure everybody feels included. And the celebration in the locker room that comes. We had a hard year. Maybe, it was like 8 years ago, we went like 500 and we got fourth in league. We had a couple injuries, and the year after we won our first game, and Coach Garson says, we're celebrating. It's hard to win. And we went in there and we jumped up and down just like you had seen.
Yeah.
We've done that every win since. It's been literally about 8 years. So it's been fun. I don't want to change it. We're going to celebrate every win.
It's special. Talk about your recruits. What you look in recruits and how you create these teams, because I remember looking through your rosters. You have a lot of Idaho kids,
Yep.
a lot of Oregon kids, kind of Pacific Northwest kids, and what do you look in student athletes? What qualities and how do you kind of know when they're going to be one of your guys?
Sure. We do have a lot of Idaho guys. I think maybe over half our roster, we have 9 or 10 Idaho guys each year. We usually carry about 16. But the recruiting process has been, it's been pretty unique for me to kind of develop how do I want to go about it. Everybody has their own niche. And that was one of my biggest worries when I got the head job was, can I keep recruiting at the level at which we were? Coach Garson had first team All-Americans and all conference players. And so that was something I was, I guess I could say nervous about, but I've really found what I click with and who's going to click with me. And I've had a chance to coach a lot of the best high school players in the Northwest working with what is called Select AAU. And so I coach our top 16 U team, which is sophomores going to be juniors. And so we go around all spring and summer. We're playing in 6-7 different cities, and I get to coach the top 8 players, and then I get to see our whole club. And what that's really done is it's taught me it's really taught me what am I looking for, because when I'm at those events, I'm not necessarily recruiting, but I'm observing and I'm watching. And I think some big things that have really come out through that process is that I'm really looking for an individual who is secure in themselves. Insecurity is hard. It's a hard thing to grow through. And we all have our own insecurities. I still have mine today. So Coach Hawley and I always, we always talk about, what our own insecurities are. And I love those conversations. But, a kid who is secure in who they are is a powerful thing. Like, they may not be the best jump shooter or the strongest kid on the court, but I'll take a kid who really believes in themselves and believes in other people, right? And I think that goes to the parents too. When you find a circle around that kid who's got their best interest, who's not going to let them quit when it gets hard, because anything you want to do great in life is going to be hard. Coming to College of Idaho is hard at times, right? And so I watch their circles, and I watch that individual to see kind of how they view success. Basketball is not all about scoring points. If I have 5 players on the court who all they want to do is score, we're not going to be very good. And so I'm looking for those guys who value success or see success in a different way. Those are the ones that I think we can grow and we can teach them the skills they need.
You had some great athletes too.
Yes, we are very athletic.
It's a very athletic group, and defense is just incredible. I mean, it's a real deal.
Yeah. Well, I'll share this nugget with you. We always write our team goals on the board every year, and we want to win a national championship. Like, I'm not afraid to talk about that. We want to win conference championship. We want to beat our rivals in and U twice, right? It's a goal, right? And I'm sure they have the same goal for us. But we write those on the board, and then we say, and we always talk about this. To achieve our goals, it's not necessarily about how you're going to get there, but it's about who do you have to become, right? And so, that what you're seeing in the locker room and what you're seeing on the court and that joy we have and that toughness and that defense we play, that's who we've needed to become. And our guys really buy into that. They see that challenge and how it turns into wins.
I think of all the lessons wherever you're in life, whether you're business, basketball, pick it, family, this idea of becoming, like it's a process, right? Yeah. There's never arriving there. It's always about how am I going to improve? How am I going to look at those things that are my weaknesses, make them strengths? And then the concept of being each day what you want to become, right? It sounds cliche, but it's not. It's how do you become? You try to be each day what you want to become, and over time, habits change, and weaknesses become strengths, and it's pretty cool to watch what you do out there. I want to shift a little bit because I heard a story, and I don't know if it's true or not. And then I'm going to make a commitment.
Yeah.
So I'm with Jim out there, and I'm with Bill Whitaker, who's one of my really dear friends.
Yep.
You've been able to meet Bill, right?
Yep.
Bill's one of the best. And Jim leans over and he's like, I got to tell you a story about the half-court shot. I'm like, okay, what? And he's like, well, they start having this half-court shot to try to get the students out and get some excitement around the games. And if you make the half-court shot, it's $1,000, right?
Yep.
And I said, that's cool. And he's like, well, that's not the problem. The problem is Coach is covering that right now.
Yeah, I sure am.
Is that true?
It's a true story.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
We're going to stop that right now.
Yeah.
So BVA is doing a donation.
Okay. Let's go.
We are now going to cover last year's retroactive, and we'll cover the half-court shots. Because how many of them were there this year?
You. Well, we have one every halftime.
I know.
Or after halftime. So,
but it's amazing how many shots people make.
There's been 2 shots made in the last couple of years. That's $2,000 that have come right out of my pocket. So, but it's been worth it. It's the students are showing up early to the game. They get their raffle ticket. The excitement's pretty incredible. So,
okay, we got you covered, Coach.
Yes, thank you for stepping up.
We'll do more than that, but we want to do that.
Yes.
Talk a little bit about funding at your level. Talk a little bit about reliance on the community. And for those of you who don't know about your program, there might be others out there that say, hey, I want to get involved.
Yeah, no, I mean, as we all know, funding's a big part of every organization, right? And we are a small college, and funding drives our opportunities to, create a really great experience for our team. And so we do fundraise a lot. We have an incredible booster club called our 6-Man Club, and through that club, we were able to raise over $100,000 last year, which is pretty incredible for a small college. That's through our alums, it's through local businesses, it's through local donors, and there's different levels there where they can get, more involved with the team. And different swag items, things like that. But a big thing for me is, my ultimate goal, do we want to win? 100%, but my ultimate goal is I want to create the best experience I can for our guys. And so what does that mean? That means, going on a team retreat. It means the way we eat together. It means the way we travel together. It's just the experiences we create, right? And that all takes funding. And so we are working very hard to, try to get the community, to continue to stay involved in our program, because the more we pour into our guys, the more our guys can pour into the community.
Did you realize what a big part that would be of this when you took over as the head guy?
Well, I have to admit, Coach Garson, my predecessor, was very good at fundraising and getting involved and getting to know people around the community. And so when I took over the job, I was very nervous about maintaining what he had established. And I've found that just being myself, I've been able to maintain, and we've been able to continue to grow. But it is a big part of it. Everybody thinks you're a college basketball coach and you're on the court and you're coaching X's and O's. It's a lot. It's not as much that as you think.
People love you out there, man.
Yeah.
The other thing I hear is how long. I mean, I'm not going to ask you the question.
You can, Coach, if you want.
I'm not going to ask you the question. But I'm like, hey, after I witnessed it firsthand, I'm like, how long am I going to keep this guy before someone's going to come knocking? So. better enjoy it. You don't have to answer the question.
I'm
just telling you, you're built for this thing. So
yeah, I appreciate that. I do. I want to say this because this has been on my mind a lot. Like, one of the things that I'm really passionate about right now is making sure that society doesn't dictate my journey or my happiness, right? We all think, that everybody should move a certain way. And I hear this all the time. When are you going to move on to bigger and better?
Yeah.
And the bigger part makes sense because there are bigger schools and bigger levels, right? But the better part doesn't make any sense to me because I think, man, I get to coach the best kids in the world with the best administration and a community that leads the country in attendance for the NAIA. Like, I don't know if I can find better. And so my whole journey has just been about.
Hey, that's powerful. But man, let me tell you about some paychecks at some of these schools, buddy.
I hear you. There's a difference between money and wealth.
I know. But you're saying all the right stuff, but you have some superpowers, man.
Sure.
And I witnessed them.
I appreciate
it's
that.
It's gonna be cool. Talk to me a little bit about the brand, because I think, like, again, a lot of people listen to this are business folks. How important is branding? How important is culture? How do you maintain it? What are some of your tricks you've learned from others, or as you've been observed? So what's some wisdom you give? Because I think in a company, I mean, we have a lot of athletes that work here for us.
Sure.
And I think you learn some things through team sports about the brand, about representing more than yourself, about being committed to something bigger than yourself. And a lot of those things carry over for these kids as they graduate. They're going to be able to go on and kind of immediately be part of a business team that says, hey, here's how we go. But so I think it is directly relevant.
Yeah.
What are some ways that you think about with your coaching staff and your administration of, hey, how do we always push the brand forward? How do we maintain culture with our program?
Sure. Well, I think what's really cool about maybe a small college program is that we're not just a basketball program.
Yeah.
Like, I really see it as like a small business, right? And I think we can do a lot of things. I think we can raise funds. I think we can impact a lot of people when we can share our brand with other people. And so, what does our brand look like? Well, some of it is our X's and O's. We run a really unique zone defense, and I have literally hundreds of coaches reaching out about, what can I get more details about that zone? And so I want to grow our brand by maybe making a promotional video to, sell and continue to help our staff, financially and help them continue to, increase their careers and be able to stay with us as long as we can. That's why it's a big part of being able to grow our brand there. So that's an X and O thing. But, I think we do have a good thing going culture-wise. Again, we always want to pour into our guys and help them understand, what the journey of finding happiness is, which is really just giving back to others at the end of the day. And so, we do a lot of things in our community where we have our legacy program where we're engaging 4,500 youth elementary students between the Valley View School District and the Caldwell School District, where we're going to their schools, we're playing on the playground, we're encouraging them to volunteer in the community, and after that we reward them with coming to our game. And so we want to grow our brand in terms of here's how we found success in terms of developing our own team, which is to give back to others. And so now we're encouraging, our elementary students in our own community to do that as well. And so we're just trying to share as much of what we've learned about success and happiness and joy with everybody around us. But, we would, the more we can grow the brand, the more opportunities we can create for our own program too.
I love it. Shifting again here, Brian King.
Love him. The best.
Yeah. So many may know Brian King, but he's a wealth manager here in town and former college basketball player.
You bet.
Hugely big-time sports family with his kids and everything. But he does something every year called Suits to Seniors.
Suits for Seniors.
Suits for Seniors.
Yep.
Talk about that.
Yeah. So Brian, I got to know Brian when I got to coach his son in the Select AAU program. Brooks, but and so he's been a mentor for me for a long time and just somebody I can bounce ideas off of. But when I got the head job 6 years ago, I said to him, I just threw an idea. I said, how cool it would be to give our seniors a really cool gift, because it's an accomplishment to go to the College of Idaho and to play for the program and to graduate with an excellent degree. It's not an easy task. And so, we were talking about different ideas and the suits came up. And I said, how cool would that be if every graduating senior got a suit? And Brian looked right at me and he goes, done. Don't even worry about it. And he took it and ran with it. And he got Tim Bungard at Pioneer Title involved. He got Joel Hickman at Idaho Trust Bank. He got Steve and Bobby Cooper from Goodwood Barbecue involved. And so we go over to Brian's house, in May, usually on an evening. The Goodwood Barbecue brings in a chef. They do a 4-course meal. It's unbelievable. But they also donate where we can go into Dillard's with our guy Tom down there who does suits.
Yeah.
And he decks us out: shirt, tie, belt, shoes, socks, custom suit. Every senior gets one. We've now given out over 20 suits to our seniors. And the point is, after the graduation, what are they going to be doing? Going to weddings, job interviews. We've got doctors right now that have used their suits, in their medical school interviews. We've got weddings where guys are showing up in their suits. And so it's really a cool gift. But we go over to the house, we celebrate, their 4-year career and their degree. And it's really, I can tell you this, I've coached for 17 years. We've done it 6 times. Those 6 nights are the best night I've had in my 17-year career.
Incredible. He was telling me the story and some of the post-follow-up stories of these kids going on and how important it is. Gives you goosebumps. It's incredible. What a great guy too, Brian. Yes. I mean, it's another. You think of, when you go out and visit the campus there, which I have with Jim a couple of times. There is a love for that campus and with the alumni and students and anyone that's associated with it and been part of it that is, I mean, it's palpable. It's for anyone that hasn't experienced that or wants to learn more. It's just an incredible treasure here in the Valley. Talk a little bit about. I was just actually sitting here thinking, I didn't have planned to talk about this, but with the Celtics winning last night, you got to look at pull up their coach, Joe Mizuno, right?
Yeah. He's younger than I am.
He's younger than you are.
Yeah. I used to be the young guy. I'm not there anymore.
And his, he was literally in coaching junior college, right?
Or was it D2?
I think it's, look up his coaching history here, Matthew, because I think it's, look it on the right-hand side. Yeah, so I think he's D2 to assistant.
If you scroll down, you can see his career history.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Check this out. So here we go.
Yeah,
Glenville State as an assistant. Fairmont State. This is 2016.
Yeah.
Maine Red Claws, right?
Yep.
And then Fairmont State again, and then the Boston Celtics assistant, and now he's an NBA champ.
How about that? You're one seat away.
You hear stories about this guy, though, and you hear that he was just this smart guy that everyone knew they had to get him from behind the bench to the front of the bench, and then he gets this opportunity.
Sure.
When you see that stuff, does it get you fired up?
Yeah,
it's in your blood, right?
Oh yeah. Every year when March Madness tips off, you're watching those games and you're watching the adjustments they make and the way their players are playing for them, and you're like, I could do that, But then you're like, I am doing that. I'm doing the same thing, right? Any team you have, you can connect them all the same way.
Have you always been kind of a sports fanatic guy?
Oh, yeah. My dad was a high school coach his whole life.
Yeah.
Sister and brother played hoops. And so, I grew up in the gym. I was spilling my milk on Saturday morning practice when I was 5 years old and eating my donut from Albertsons. I grew up in that gym, and I've loved it ever since.
I think gym rats make the best coaches, right?
Sure, yeah.
Where do you look for your X's and O's and kind of how much of that is an ongoing process, and how do you tackle that part of it?
Yeah, well, I don't know that people will believe me. It's not a politically correct answer.
I'll believe you, Coach.
Yeah, please do.
I'm ready. Put me in.
I've gathered a lot from. I've worked for 4 incredible coaches. If you look down my coaching tree that I've gotten to work for, we've got national championships. We've got Jeremy Cox, who worked at Kentucky, and Scott Garson, who worked at UCLA. I've learned, and then where their stuff's coming from is John Wooden and all the greats too. And so I've gotten to work for some great guys, and so I've taken a lot from them. But I really like to. My hope is to zoom out when we're playing and not necessarily zoom in. And what I mean by that is I want to create conceptual players, and I want them to make decisions. And so if you come watch our first game of the year, we struggle. We probably turn the ball over about 18 times every year, and I'm like, why are we doing this again? I thought we were over this. But then I realized, hey, we got to build that conceptual part of them. And then you get to the end of the year, which I think you probably saw was after Christmas, and you got a team that we're not just zeroed in or zoned in on one concept. Everybody is moving and reacting to each other on both ends of the court.
You have a ton of motion.
Yes.
No one's standing around.
No.
So talk us through that, because
Sure. Oh, I want you to
I
be.
think as the casual fan that are always like looking at stuff, we're like, why are we just stagnant and like looking around at each other? You don't have that.
Sure. Well, we break the motion offense down into little segments. There's post touches, there's ball screens, there's back cuts, and every guy starts to figure out, well, what am I good at? And then they kind of play to that. A lot of times our big guys are good at ball screens, so they're following the ball to ball screens. A lot of times, we have these great athletic wings who can really backdoor and slash and get on the rim or get offensive rebounds. And so you really just, you teach the team a little bit of all of it, but then you teach each individual, what are you excellent at? And then just do that. And then when you get 5 guys on the court that all kind of do something different, but they know how to flow with each other, that's a big word for us. We want to flow. We want to vibe together. We want to learn how to vibe together. Right? And when you get them doing that, then at the end of the year, your motion offense is unstoppable. Like, how do you scout for a motion offense when you don't know exactly where everybody's going to be moving? And so that's what we want to be. We want to be unstoppable.
It's really cool to watch. Defense, what are your tricks to coach?
Yeah, so we actually play a matchup zone defense, which I'd be willing to say arguably maybe the best matchup zone defense in the country, considering the wins and the stats if you really break them down. We've done it for 7 years now. We've been to 4 Final Fours. It's won a national championship. So
one that should have been.
Yes, and one that we could consider maybe. We could take the title.
Put an asterisk by that today.
Yeah, exactly. 1.5 we'll call it. But our defense, if technically we line up in a 2-3 zone, and when the ball goes to a certain area, we're playing man. That's the basic skinny of it all, right? But I think the key to defense is we get our guys to play incredibly hard and passionate and make
closeouts, passing lanes,
rebounds. And that's my trick. If you come watch me play, I am aggressive. Or not play, but coach. If you watch me coach, I do hold a high standard, but my standard is to get you to maximize your human potential, because then you'll make the right play on defense.
Wow. Tell us about your family.
Yeah, great family, local family. Dad grew up here in Meridian High. My uncle was the 1981 State Player of the Year, Brad Blaine, at Meridian High School. So basketball family for sure.
Hey, he would know who Dennis Johnson was.
Yes. Well,
you asked your uncle.
He played at CSI.
Okay, there we go.
Back in '82. So when were you at Rick's?
86, 87.
Okay, so you would have been just after my uncle there. He was at CSI there, so you were all in that same realm. But
and the 80s were great, Coach.
Yeah, no, I've seen the archives.
You've seen the mullets.
Yes. Oh yeah.
Archives.
Yeah. I'm sure I'll hit my friends up at CSI. I'm sure they have some pictures of you back from that day.
That's funny. The mullets were great.
Yeah.
It was.
Well, they're coming back.
The music was great.
Yeah.
Music, mullets. Yeah. Ronald Reagan was the president.
Sure.
It's
all coming back. The mullets are strong still.
It didn't get much better than that. Hey, keep going.
No, yeah. So grew up, I was the youngest of 3. My brother and sister were both about 4 or 5 years older than me, and they played all the sports too. So I had enough separation where I got to watch them and observe them. I was the younger, that little younger brother, and just loved their journeys, and so got to learn from the best, and rest is history.
Great. We're getting here towards the end. Tell us a little bit about what, I'm going to change it up a little bit, but biggest life lesson you've learned, not sports related, but just advice you'd give to anyone about just living life.
Yeah. Well, maybe a 2-part deal. And of course my whole life revolves around sports, so hard to get out of that realm. But I am on a journey, for myself to just find that happiness, that joy, and to feel good about, how am I living my life. But I think I have certainly realized over the last, like I said, 4, 5, 6 years, that the more I pour into myself, the better everybody else gets around me. Right. And so as a leader, you want to spend all your time doing stuff for other people. And I've realized, man, the more time I work out, the more I focus on my own nutrition, the more I study, I read, I watch my podcasts or my videos or whatever to learn, to continue to be a curious learner. The better I get, the better everybody else gets. Right.
It never stops either. I'm going to jump in because I think I do a little talk with Mission 43, and the people that I look up to as mentors never stop.
Yeah.
I'll use Bill Whitaker as one of those examples. He never stops. Every single time we go to lunch, I'm hearing about the last 3 books he read.
Yeah.
I'm hearing about this new, he's just always growing.
Sure.
and learning and developing and sharing that with others. And it really is a focus. And I think sometimes people feel like, well, I wasn't born with those natural abilities or God-given gifts, right?
Yep.
So, but it is a lot like athletics, right? You may not be a natural leader, but my goodness, you can learn how to become one, and you can
Absolutely.
never stop growing and developing. And so it does relate a lot back to that. And I think that's a powerful thing for people wherever you are in your career, saying, hey, I'm not done growing and learning. And there's so many
Yes.
great tools. It's so easy to, and in today's world, there's a lot of negatives about our technology, I think, as well. But you can pretty much every time you get in the car be learning and growing and
Yep.
and reading or listening to a book, or there's just a lot of great information out there. And I think it makes it easy if you focus on it and then
sure.
apply it, right?
Yeah. Well, I'll share with you what I maybe learned this year, and it happened through our team, but we're coming off a national championship, and we get to December 1st, and we lose our first conference game in over a year and a half. And I think we're like 8-2 at that point. And I just remember driving away from that game feeling robotic. I mean, we had a great team. We were still really good, but I just felt robotic. We were the same drills, the same mottos, the same expectations as the year before, the national championship year. Why not? You know, that's the team that won it. But I felt robotic. It wasn't who I was at that moment. We were 6 months older at that point, right, than we were from our national championship. And so what I realized was I was leading with my head too much. I was leading with what I knew worked for the year before, but I wasn't leading with my heart. I wasn't letting out that genuine energy that my guys needed to feel about who I was in that moment. And so after December 1st, in which you came to a game after that, I committed to just leading with my heart, and that's going to be a big motto for next year for us. I want all of our players to be who they are today, not who they were when we won that national championship.
That's powerful. Authenticity, right?
Yes.
Checking yourself. Are you doing it for the right reasons? Are you truly? I love that.
Yeah.
What if you think of mentors you've had or people you've looked up to? Who's had the greatest impact on you?
Yeah. Again, it's definitely the coaches I've worked for.
Yeah.
Scott Garson.
Tell us a little bit more about him. You've mentioned him a few times.
Yeah,
but
he's incredible.
What was unique about him? And,
Sure.
and give us a little insight into what you learned from him.
Yeah, so Coach Garson worked for Rick Majerus at University of Utah for 5 years, and then worked for Ben Howland at UCLA. Kevin Love, Russell Westbrook, 3 Final Fours. I mean, you name it. He's at the pinnacle of college basketball. And when he came to College of Idaho to be the head coach, I was coming in from CSI, and I was still relatively young. And I was coming in with fire, right? And that's who I am anyway. I'm a fiery guy. But when I got there, it took me over a year to understand his method. And his method is empathy, kindness, right? I mean, patience. And it took me a year. We battle all the time. We're best friends now because of it. But I'd battle, and no, you gotta get after him. And he's like, no, you don't. Relax. Watch how this works. And so he really taught me you can coach in a different way. He taught me that you can how to love them and coach them hard at the same time. And if I hadn't worked for him, I don't know that I would have ever picked that up. We have this stereotype of what coaching looks like. Now, if you do come watch me coach, I am hard. I am demanding. But I think if you get to see the whole picture, you'll see a lot of that love too.
Oh man, I saw it. Hey, Rick Majerus was a trip.
Yes, I've heard many stories. Coach Garson.
So he was it was funny because I was in medical school at the University of Utah.
Oh, okay.
And that's during his heyday. And then I went to residency University of Arizona, and those epic battles between Arizona and Lute Olson and Rick Majerus were all during that time. And Utah always came up on the short end of that battle every time. But guy was a trip. Lived in a hotel.
Yep.
I mean, there's crazy stories.
Slept, breathe, basketball, leadership.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, he was a great coach. Well, this has been fun.
It's been great.
Anything
Thank
else
you.
about your upcoming season, or where can people learn more or see your schedule? Just go to the website. And
Yep. On our College of Idaho website, our schedule will be up there here pretty soon. I'll tell you this, this Treasure Valley is a sports town, and, it's 30 minutes to downtown Boise or 30 minutes out to Caldwell, and I'm telling you this, we've got 13 players back next year.
Wow.
9 of our 10 rotational.
Hey, is Rogers coming back?
Stratton Rogers will be back. He'll be a senior, and he's going to have an excellent
Dude's
season.
an athlete.
Yes, he is. Big-time player. Big-time winner.
Yeah, he can jump out of the gym.
We will throw a lot of lobs for him. So
yeah, he's fun to watch.
Yeah.
So he's back, right?
He's
Senior?
back. He'll be a senior. We actually have 8 seniors, but
oh wow,
I want to.
Brian, did you hear that? Brian better save his money.
Yeah,
that's 8 suits.
That's right. Yeah, it's going to be a busy spring for sure. We're gonna have to get another sponsor in there, but
Well, and if anyone wants to be part of or donate the program, we're in. We're
Yes,
all in.
I appreciate
It was
that.
amazing, and I really appreciate you coming on today. I think there's a lot to take away from this.
You bet.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.